Valentina Gomez, you were laughing as you were listening there. Many people have not been laughing at your video, particularly at phrases like "vote for me so we can kick every dirty Muslim out of Texas." If you had a Muslim candidate in Texas saying "vote for me so we can kick every dirty Christian out of Texas," you would rightly, I imagine, be outraged.
The most dangerous political lie is not that money solves everything. It is that money can excuse everything. That is the trap Kevin O'Leary walks into here. Donald Trump can demean immigrants, target Representative Ilhan Omar, and turn an economic speech into another grievance-filled spectacle. But Kevin O'Leary keeps dragging the conversation back to markets, investment, and America's balance sheet, as though a rising stock chart can restore dignity, as though a powerful economy makes cruelty harmless. But Dr. Cornel West refuses to accept that bargain, and Abby Phillip keeps the real question on the table. What happens when the people running the country treat trust, integrity, and equal citizenship like optional extras? Because an economy is not some machine floating above society. It depends on laws people believe in, contracts people trust, and institutions that do not decide your humanity according to your name, birthplace, or skin color. And what happened after this discussion aired makes that warning even harder to dismiss. This is Wilson Smith, where we cut through the spin and follow the truth. If you're done with the sanitized version, you're in the right place. Now let's get into it.
Why do you think it's acceptable to use a phrase like "so we can kick every dirty Muslim out of Texas"?
Good morning, Piers. And since you didn't have the decency of introducing me correctly, I'll happily do it. Good morning to all of my beautiful people in England. Hello to all of my lads in the UK. Last time I was there, I had an amazing time. I'm Valentina Gomez. I will be the next congresswoman for the state of Texas, and I'm a warrior of the one true King Jesus Christ. And England and Piers, the United States and England was built by white Christian men that follow Jesus Christ, not by a bunch of Mohammeds. So let's get that cleared out right away.
Right. You haven't answered my question. Why do you, if it was the other way around, you would be rightly outraged. Why do you think it's acceptable as somebody running for office in the United States to be so blatantly, why would you be so blatantly hateful towards one group of people?
You call it hateful and bigotry and racist and all of that garbage. I call it the truth. America is a Christian nation. These Muslims come to Christian nations, burn our churches, rape our women, shoot our American soldiers point blank, killing one of them in broad daylight, then chanting Allahu Akbar. Piers, my brother is a National Guardsman. He literally puts himself on the line for this nation. So yes, these dirty Muslims have no place in America and have no place in England.
But as you speak, you see, I'm just seeing a brazen Islamophobe. And people say that phrase doesn't exist. It doesn't. And I'm sure you find it funny, but I think you can make perfectly pertinent points about what's happened here without descending into such vile hatred towards an entire religion. And there are 5 million Muslims in the United States. Why would you want to categorize them in such a grotesque manner?
Oh, and those 5 million Muslims should definitely go back to their 56 Muslim nations. And let's get something very clear right now in your little show, Piers. I don't fear the groomers. I don't fear the pedophiles. I don't fear the corrupt politicians. And I definitely do not fear the dirty Muslims.
Let me bring in...
Can I jump in here real quick?
Yeah, you can, yeah.
No.
I mean, we should be clear about the fact. I mean, sure, Valentina is just a bigot, plain and simple, engages in the worst kinds of bigotry imaginable. But it's worth noting that she's fundamentally un-American because the American Constitution says that you cannot discriminate against people based on religion. That is pretty clear. And so she's engaging in an anti-American campaign in the name of protecting America, which is just irony beyond imagination. So yes, she's a charlatan. She doesn't know what she's talking about. You can tell by looking at her that her IQ hovers around room temperature. To me, the real scandal is not engaging with her directly because she's beneath taking seriously. But the problem is with the GOP, that you have a major party in this country having a candidate running under its flagship, engaging in this kind of really incredibly hateful, incendiary rhetoric, and they do nothing about it. We've seen it with the dissent with Donald Trump himself, with the lawlessness that he has brought to the table and the corruption that he's allowed to get away with, without the party really standing up and putting country before party and before president. And you can see that slippery slope now leading to this level, where you have just a complete hateful clown like this person representing that party without the party objecting to it.
Yeah, you know
is
what?
leading us towards a very, very dark place in this country.
I actually completely.
All right.
I completely agree with you. There are perfectly legitimate.
No, Piers. And to
well,
the other
I actually do agree with him.
Let's
I think
make
your brazen
no,
bigotry is obvious.
Let's make something very clear, Piers.
Yeah.
I only discriminate against terrorists. These terrorists have no place in America. They have no place in the world. And the best type of terrorist is a dead terrorist. And let's look at your Quran. Your Quran 8:12 states to terrorize and behead those who believe in scriptures other than the Quran. And that Afghani, that dirty Muslim that killed Sarah Beckstrom.
It doesn't actually say that, and this is the problem.
And Andrew Wolf, who is
all right, let me bring in Qasim
Yeah,
Rashid. Welcome to Uncensored. If you'd like to say what you want to say.
Yeah, I co-sign everything Omar said there, and I think fundamentally this is where we are as a country, where rather than talking about real serious issues, we have these firebrands. I think she ran in Missouri, got 7%, moved to Texas to try to lose there as well. Look, the reality is that, we need to look at the facts here. And the facts tell us that immigration is a net positive in every single way to this country. The facts tell us, a Northwestern University study of the last 150 years found that at no point in American history have immigrants had a higher crime rate than born U.S. citizens. We're talking about Somalia, and we're talking about Minnesota. Well, Minnesota is the 4th best state in the country to start a business and to live and to work. It's the 15th safest state in the country as well. And so, the difference here is that we want the constitutional principles of due process of law to apply. And this, this idea that we're a Christian nation is contradicted by the founders of this country itself. We are actually a secular democratic republic where people can believe or not believe as they wish without oppression. And I think it's critically important that whatever our, political differences, we stand united on this basic principle that human dignity, human rights, religious freedom must be protected, even for those with whom I disagree, because at the end of the day, that's what the First Amendment requires, that's what the Constitution requires. If we lose that principle, then we deteriorate into fascism and anarchy, and I don't think anybody wants that.
A country can be rich on paper and bankrupt in character. That is the flaw running through Kevin O'Leary's entire argument. He treats America's ability to attract investment as proof that everything essential is still working. Money arrives, businesses operate, contracts get signed. Therefore, according to that logic, the system must be healthy. But Dr. Cornel West was asking the question Kevin O'Leary kept avoiding. Healthy for whom? And sustainable for how long? Because capital does not have a conscience. Money can flow into a country where families cannot afford housing. Stock prices can rise while workers fall behind. Investors can celebrate quarterly returns while citizens watch their rights become conditional and their neighbors get treated as political targets. That is why Abby Phillips' intervention mattered. The issue was never whether America remains economically powerful. Of course it does. The issue was whether that power can protect democracy when the president openly degrades entire communities and government policy begins judging people by where they came from. Kevin O'Leary wanted the economy to function like a moral escape hatch. Yes, Donald Trump's words are ugly, but the market will save us. Except the numbers that came after this broadcast tell a very different story. According to the June 2026 NPR, PBS News and Marist poll, only 33% of Americans approved of Donald Trump's handling of the economy, while 60% disapproved. Even 22% of Republicans disapproved. 2/3 of Americans said costs had affected their summer vacation plans, and nearly half of those skipping a vacation said cost was the main reason. The Reuters and Ipsos polling in June was even harsher on everyday affordability. Only 24% approved of Donald Trump's handling of the cost of living, while 69% disapproved. And remember what Dr. Cornel West said about trust. A June 2026 Marquette Law School poll found that only 18% of Americans trusted the federal government to do what is right all or most of the time. 19% said they never trust it. That is not some abstract spiritual complaint. That is an economic warning. You cannot build lasting prosperity when workers distrust government, consumers distrust prices, communities distrust enforcement, and leaders expect everyone to accept cruelty as long as wealthy investors are still making money. Kevin O'Leary sees America from the investment table. Most Americans see it from the grocery aisle, the rent notice, the medical bill, and the gas pump. Those are not the same view. So here's the choice. Do you believe wealth automatically proves a country is working? Or do you believe prosperity means nothing unless ordinary people can live with security, dignity, and equal protection? Tell me which side you are on in the comments. You saw it too, didn't you? Good. That's why we're here. This is Wilson Smith, where we cut through the spin and follow the truth. If you're done with the sanitized version, you're in the right place.